In our video, we are going to talk with Innocent Nchu, who was born and grew up in Cameroon, where he also worked for a World Bank program. Later he lived and studied in the United States of America. And latterly he was doing climate and agricultural research at the Technical University of Dresden, where he also was holding a scholarship of the Humboldt Foundation. But anyway, we are very excited to hear from him, and yeah, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks you for having me.
Yeah. So when you look at the countryside of Cameroon, you will recognize a large variety of different shapes, and even the social structure is very different from our European image of societies. So I'm wondering, how can we imagine the society of Cameroon?
I think the society of Cameroon, I would say Cameroon is Africa in miniature. What that means is, if you look at Africa, the different geographical constituents, if you think about it in terms of the landscape, in terms of the people, we have all those kind of blendage, like a mixture. We have them all in Cameroon. Yeah, because Cameroon is a vast ecological area spreading from the north with the Hausas, the Muslims, coming right down to the south, to the Christians, and yeah. So these are the religions that we find across Africa. And in terms of also, we speak both French and English, and these are the main languages that has been spoken in Africa. And within all that, I think the society of Cameroon is really an agricultural society where 80% of the people are involved in agriculture.
And can you tell us more about the local areas, how the local areas are organized in structures, and what does it mean for the people?
Yeah, I think if we look at the state, of course we have the national level, and at the national level, the country level, and after that we have the regional level. Yeah, of course, and within the regional level we have the local level. And this local level, they have quite a historical tradition. We call them fondoms or chiefdoms, which they make local laws as well that govern the people. Some of these laws, they are not written, but they are generally accepted by the general population of that area as a way of life. And I think most of the local areas in Cameroon, they have their own culture, the way they do things. And I will also say that most of these traditional authorities, they work hand in hand with the government administrative unit.
And how does it impact the daily life and the work of the woman?
Yeah, I'll take a very clear example. I'll come back to what I'm doing here. Because actually, my work, I noticed that the men take care more of cash crops, like cocoa, coffee, while the women take care of the food crops. They are the one they're in charge of to feed the family. It means they need to go look for food on the farms to come and feed the family. And now we're having issues like climate change that is seriously impacting, affecting this agriculture. Meaning that sometimes we have some species that die, we don't have good harvest. So the women, they're a little bit frustrated because they cannot feed the family as they used to. I also want us to understand that most of the farming that women do, they sell some of the produce in the market. And when they get the money, they take care of school fees for the kids, and it increases even the school fees and other things for the family. So once their livelihood source is gone, you can see it has a spiral effect. And then now, one of the serious consequences of such system is that women don't have rights to land, to farm and stuff like that. Imagine if, like I said, men moving away, leaving women behind, they still don't own the land that their livelihood depends on. So that's already a problem. And now with climate change, like I told you, coming, it's affecting women really hard because they provide food for the family. They need to change the concept of farming, the way they do farming.
Now you mentioned some problems and how they correlate and link to each other. So I'm wondering now how science can help. How can empirical research help to focus the problem?
So how can we connect the tradition? How can we connect women? How can we connect land? And within the framework of climate change. So I came up with this research. Okay, I have an idea. Let me go to the field and try to see if this is real. What I'm thinking, is it real? I read some books, did some literature review, and finally I went to the field to meet with these women. I chose a very small sample of 87 women that I worked with them and to get this data.
You asked them questions, or what did you do?
Yeah, I had some questionnaires, open-ended questionnaires. We had focus group discussion where we could talk, and I even had the chief of the area and some departmental authorities from the government. They were there, and we had this open discussion. So I think then with this, we collected this data, and when we did the analysis, it was so clear that women, they think they cannot adapt to climate change better because of the traditional system. It needs to be changed. It needs to be more favorable, more inclusive. That takes into consideration both male and female and not gender bias. So that was the point, because people believe in research, because if we need to make policies, we need policies that are driven by research. So I think this my research adds a little bit of value into the normal policy making at the local level. I thought that I could go further to develop a framework where I could take back home and try to apply if these research results are they real. So I developed a conceptual framework that I think I'm looking forward towards the implementation on the field based on the research results. Yeah, I mean, and the framework I think is going to work if we want to build a community resilience to climate change, because it looks at broader issues, because most of these factors, they are always connected. So the framework is based on a holistic approach that takes into consideration the various aspects of environmental management as a whole. Because if you look in climate change from a very isolated perspective, it will not work, because there are so many drivers and other factors all interrelated that makes a story. So this framework tried to build from a broader view, looking at all of these aspects. But at the end of the day, I would say it also called for some customary reforms that, because it was clear that the traditional land ownership and the customary tenure are very inefficient. And if we need to adapt to climate change, if we need to meet the sustainable development goals of reducing hunger, increasing food security, sustainable management, and adapting to climate change, then we need to revolutionize our traditional customary practices. Now, so this framework now, we're saying that, okay, for instance, Cameroon already ratified so many rights for the women. You know, before I talk about science, policy, connection. So at the end now, we talk about science, policy, action. Now we complete the link, because of course, science and policy, sometimes it cannot work on the field. It's just theory. So now I'm taking it much more further, adding the action. So now I'm trying to connect. I'm a scientist, of course. The policy making is the local structure that I already talked about. And now the action part is the implementation on the ground. So now we're trying to connect all the points, bringing them in one structure, in a focus, to understand, okay, this research, can it guide this policy? And if we implement it, what kind of changes are we going to have? So I think that's very important.
Yeah, thank you, Nchu, for being here and giving us this profound insight of your work. Yeah, we wish you good luck for the future and wish you the best, and hoping that this practical approach will help the people there to improve their life.
Yeah, I'm sure, because we invested quite a lot of time in doing this, and it's coming from the field, and it's adapted to the local culture of the people. So we're very optimistic that it would work, and I will also say thank you for all the partners who have supported me throughout, and even being here too. Yeah. and to the Humboldt Foundation and to my host university for having me. And yeah, I'm sure we'll be collaborating more in the future. Thank you too.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yep.